Now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline, Wednesday, October 30th, 2024.
Updates on the 2024 presidential election.
Biden explains his response to the anti-Puerto Rico remarks.
Parts of online voting system passwords were inadvertently posted online.
And a former Republican congressional candidate was charged with the theft of ballots.
In tech news, Truth Social is worth more than X. Robert Downey Jr. pledged to sue anyone who uses an AI version of him. And Iran has removed their ban on iPhones. I'm Alexa D'Amato, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
In today's entertainment report, the mysterious disappearance of $40,000 in Bluey Bucks, Tyler the Creator's newest album, and Tiger King's new Jailhouse Sweetheart. I'm Kira Osborne. Stay tuned for your entertainment.
In sports, the Yankees live to play another day, and the CAAs are right around the corner for women's soccer. I'm Connor Keogh, and there's all that and more coming up in sports.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cameron Bowden.
And I am Brooklyn Dutton. We begin tonight's broadcast on the campaign trail, where Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hit key battleground states with contrasting closing messages as the 2024 presidential election nears. Harris, speaking in Washington, pledged to unify the country, protect abortion rights, and combat divisive rhetoric. She sharply criticized Trump, calling him, quote, obsessed with revenge, and warned that global leaders see him as, quote, an easy mark. Meanwhile, Trump campaigned in North Carolina, dismissing Harris's promises as empty and critiquing her record on immigration and the economy. Both candidates are intensifying their outreach efforts, with Trump joined by former NFL quarterback Brett Favre, and Harris enlisting support from stars like Taylor Swift and Beyoncé. This final week is set to be fiercely competitive, with each side doubling down on voter outreach in battleground states like Wisconsin, hoping to sway undecided voters as Election Day approaches.
Biden sought to mitigate the backlash he received after he made a remark yesterday in response to comedian Tony Hinchcliffe calling Puerto Rico a, quote, floating pile of garbage at a rally in Madison Square Garden on Sunday. According to a transcript posted on X by a White House official, during a fundraising call yesterday, Biden said, quote, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. Many news outlets cited that, quote, without that apostrophe, exasperating the criticism that Biden was targeting Trump supporters themselves. Biden said on X that it was the, quote, hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump supporters that he was referring to, rather than the people who actually support Trump. Republicans immediately seized on the initial comment and compared it to a remark made by Hillary Clinton in 2016 about Trump supporters being, quote, deplorables. Trump also posted on X saying that Biden called his supporters, quote, garbage, and that one cannot lead the country if they do not love the American people.
According to the Colorado Department of State, partial passwords to parts of the state's voting systems that were accidentally posted online pose no threats to the presidential election. The Department of State said in a statement yesterday that a spreadsheet on its website included a hidden tab that included partial passwords to some components of Colorado's voting systems. However, the department said that this does not pose an immediate security threat to Colorado's elections, nor will it have an effect on the counting of the ballots. In that same statement, the department said that Colorado's election process has many layers of security, including 2 unique passwords for each election equipment component, which can only be used with in-person access to a voting system.
State police said yesterday that a former Republican congressional candidate was charged with the October 3rd theft of ballots during a voting system test in Madison County, Indiana. Surveillance footage showed 51-year-old precinct committee person Larry Savage folding and putting ballots into his pocket after receiving instructions about the validity of the test ballots. After a search warrant was issued, officers found the ballots in Savage's vehicle. Savage turned himself in yesterday morning. He is facing charges of theft and destroying or misplacing a ballot. He was released on bail.
In the final days of the 2024 presidential race, Republican candidate Donald Trump warned the European Union would, quote, pay a big price if they do not increase purchases of American goods, promising a reciprocal trade act that could impose sweeping tariffs, including 10% on all imports and 60% on Chinese goods. Economists cautioned that these measures could disrupt global supply chains. Meanwhile, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris rallied in Washington, calling Trump, quote, unstable and obsessed with revenge. She warned voters of his unchecked power agenda as both candidates aim to sway undecided voters before the tight November 5th election.
Coming up after your Newsline specialty report with Alexa D'Amato, a live interview with the editors of the Hofstra Chronicle, a man has been stabbed to death at a Brooklyn subway station, and a New York City police officer has been hit by a car in Brooklyn. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Matt Fisher. WRHU News Time is 5:35.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
I'm Matt Fisher, and this is your traffic and weather break. Starting with weather, outside it's 69 degrees and cloudy. Tonight, we're looking at a low of 54 degrees, and tomorrow, we're looking at a high of 74. Now, let's take it to the ground with some traffic updates. On the Sagtico State Parkway northbound at exit S3, there is a disabled vehicle resulting in a right shoulder blockage. On the Long Island Expressway westbound at exit 34 New Hyde Park, there is a crash resulting in a right shoulder blockage. As far as bumper-to-bumper traffic goes, we have congestion on the Southern State Parkway near Malvern and the Long Island Expressway near Old Westbury. Finally, looking towards the sky, at both JFK International Airport and LaGuardia Airport, there are no destination-specific delays. At both airports, general departure delays and arrival delays are as usual, with wait times being 15 minutes or less. I'm Matt Fisher, and don't go anywhere because I'll have another update later in the broadcast.
Newsline Technology.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump's social media platform Truth Social is worth more than Tesla CEO Elon Musk's X after a run-up in shares of Trump's platform. Valued at over $10 billion, the shares of Trump Media and Technology Group have quadrupled since last month. X is valued at $9.4 billion. Trump's media stock changes with his re-election odds instead of his own profit. Yesterday, the stock closed at $51.51. Last month, the stock hit $12. The former president owns 57% of the company. Over in Hollywood, actor Robert Downey Jr. has said that he would sue executives who use AI to recreate Tony Stark. While he doesn't believe that that's in the cards, RDJ said he doesn't want his image and likeness recreated with technology. When talking about his posthumous future, Downey said his law firm would still be active. A SAG-AFTRA spokesperson said that the Iron Man actor can deny any digital replication of him because of a California law that prohibits the unauthorized replication of a deceased performer without their prior consent. In the Middle East, Iranian authorities lifted a 2023 ban on new iPhone models. Telecommunications Minister Sattar Hashimi said that they have resolved the issue when it comes to registering new iPhone models on the Iranian market. The move was backed by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Hashimi said that import methods would be announced soon. The ban prevented iPhone 14 and 15s from working on the state-controlled network after 1 month, which is how long tourists are allowed to visit the country. With your tech report, I'm Alexa D'Amato.
That WRHU News Time is 5:37. Thank you, Matt Fisher and Alexa D'Amato, for those reports. The Hofstra Chronicle, Hofstra University's student-run newspaper, published its latest issue just yesterday, including some important content and Halloween fun. We are joined here this evening by Editor-in-Chief Mackenzie Hurt and Managing Editor Frankie DeCalogero. Mackenzie, Frankie, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us. We're happy to be here.
Excellent. So my first question is, would you mind briefly describing a few of this issue's top stories?
Yeah, so we had a really diverse issue. There was a ton of, like you said, we had some important content, but also we had a little fun with it, especially in the features section and in the arts and entertainment section. So in news, though, we had some very important content, and this isn't our election issue. Our election issue will be coming out in about 2 weeks, so it will be following the election, but we did have some lead-in content as well as some just world news in general. So especially the scrutinization of women in politics piece we had in the news section was about this really great panel that was put on. Our news editor, Giovanni Salsa, wrote that one. And they did a lot of work talking about how it relates to the election and how the view of women is impacting this current election. Then in features, we had some really cool pieces. We do this section called This Hofstra Life, where we kind of go and interview people from the Hofstra community. And this section in particular, we did Andrea Nadler, who is a admissions counselor in the Pride Guide office, and Jack Brunel, who is I believe he's a junior from North Massachusetts. So those were really cool and fun to edit, fun to read. And especially the Halloween section of Arts and Entertainment. We did a really cool piece on Scooby-Doo, like a ranking of all the Scooby-Doo movies from our childhood. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun this week.
Amazing. So why were a lot of those top stories really oriented around, the Halloween season? Obviously, it makes sense with Halloween coming up, but more so with the politics. Is there other things that stood out to you that weren't necessarily politically related, but are still really important news content that was coming out?
Yeah, not even just news, too. Opinions had a couple election-related pieces as well. But the news section definitely did a lot of Hofstra-relevant stuff this time around, but also New York in general. They have the ERA ballot piece that they just came out with that was definitely relevant because with the election coming up, if you flip over your ballot, I believe there is something on the back of it about the Equal Rights Amendment that is going to be, on the ballot in New York State on November 5th. So that was definitely an impactful and relevant piece, and I mean, as they always are in the news section. But
So what would you say are the greatest challenges that you face reporting for a smaller college newspaper?
Yeah, of course. There's definitely a lot of struggles with just getting a lot of the work that actually goes into the paper, so the content. Obviously, it's a very small place, so there's not a lot of places where we can travel to, and it's really important for the Hofstra students. So I think just finding the content, but I think I've recently, with a lot of stuff that's going on in the world with the news and the election, we haven't really went into that type of challenge recently.
Amazing. So when it comes to organizing between the different sections, I know that there's 6 major teams at the Chronicle. What kind of effort goes into actually organizing between those? What is the challenges, but also some of the great things about having different sort of allocated teams?
Yeah, of course. So we have 6 sections: news, our features, art and entertainment, sports, and opinion. And each section has own times of the week to meet with some people on the staff. They talk about a lot of their things that they want to write about, ideas, and it's basically it's almost like a workshop type of environment. And yeah, they do it each week, and they really prepare greatly for each issue, not even just the one that's coming up next, but the ones that are going on in months' time even.
And finally, as we look ahead to the election, what is some coverage that the Chronicle plans to do?
So Hofstra definitely has a lot of pre-election panels that have been going on, and what's really cool about this school is that we have a connection to the city, so a lot of the experts that are pretty prominent and that you would see on the news usually will be willing to come to Hofstra, so we definitely are planning to report on those panels. I know the opinion section is working on getting some more political-driven opinions, and even features. Every section there's room to discuss the election. Even arts and entertainment, there's musicians and there are actors who definitely have strong opinions about the election. So we are a very diverse paper in the sense that we can pretty much report on anything that we'd like to. So, pretty cool stuff that we have planned, and it's going to be a really fun issue, so stay tuned.
Amazing. That was, again, Mackenzie Hurt and Frankie DiCaladero for joining us. Thank you, editors from the Hofstra Chronicle, for coming on WRHU today.
Thank you so much for having us.
A 54-year-old man has been stabbed to death on a Brooklyn subway platform. According to police, the stabbing occurred at the Coney Island Stillwell Avenue station just before 11:30 p.m. last night. The victim suffered a stab wound to the back. He was taken to NYU Langone Hospital, Brooklyn, where he was pronounced dead. The suspect fled the scene without being caught. The MTA has suspended train service between Coney Island Stillwell Avenue and 86th Street while the NYPD investigates the incident.
An NYPD officer is recovering after being struck by a car in Brooklyn last night. Police report that around 9:30 p.m., officers spotted a dark sedan driving recklessly near Atlantic Avenue and Eastern Parkway in East New York. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, it sped up, hitting one of them. The injured officer is in stable condition at a nearby hospital. One person was taken into custody, with charges pending, while the investigation continues.
The University of Bridgeport went into lockdown on Tuesday night after shots were fired in the campus's dining hall. Police say that the incident was only between 2 people, and the suspect and the victim, both of whom are not students of the university and were just visiting the campus. The victim was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are still investigating the incident and are currently searching for a suspect involved in the, quote, isolated incident, and say that it is not an active shooter situation.
Last night, a tribute was held in Astoria for Amanda Sorvidillo, a cyclist who was struck and killed by a driver in a hit-and-run last week just 2 blocks from her home. Local cyclists from her biking club Bike and Brew NYC continued and completed her biking route in her memory.
Clyde Mercury, the driver who struck and killed a construction worker in Bed-Stuy Tuesday afternoon, was charged with criminally negligent homicide, reckless endangerment, reckless driving, and failure to exercise due care. Paramedics rushed to scene, but the 37-year-old victim was taken to Woodhull Medical Center and pronounced dead on arrival. The investigation is ongoing.
A Westchester shooting suspect, Fernando Jimenez, has been charged with murder following a manhunt and a shelter in place. He is accused of shooting his girlfriend and her 2 sons Monday morning. The 3 victims were brought to nearby hospitals, where one of the sons was pronounced dead. The other son is in critical condition, and the mother is in stable condition.
The William Floyd School District is planning to install metal detectors in each building in Mastic Beach by the end of the school year. This comes 2 weeks after a 14-year-old student brought a loaded gun into the high school. The William Floyd Board of Education held its first public meeting since that incident. In that meeting, law enforcement officials informed concerned parents how they prepare and train for any active shooter situation and how the current procedures are making a difference. The district could not provide a timeline on when the metal detectors could be implemented, but said it is a priority to get it done by next summer, and security will continue to screen people entering school buildings with wands in the meantime.
An overpass on the Long Island Expressway has been renamed to honor the memory of a fallen NYPD officer. NYPD detective Brian Simonson was killed by friendly fire 5 years ago while responding to a robbery in Queens. Simonson's widow stated that she wants to publicize her husband's name so that his family, friends, and fellow officers would remember him. She also stated that the day on which the name change happened would have been her husband's 47th birthday. The bridge has been officially renamed to the NYPD Detective Brian P. Simonson Memorial Bridge, currently located between exits 70 and 71 on the LIE.
The American Red Cross is helping 92 people with clothing, financial aid, and other assistance after 12 house fires across Long Island in the last 2 weeks. Authorities have said that the dozen house fires did not appear to represent a significant increase, but could be a part of a small seasonal uptick. American Red Cross member Desiree Ramos-Rainier stated, quote, "We often see an increase in fires around this time of year when people first turn on their heating systems." She also stated that, quote, "On colder nights, people get creative. It may be that somebody left on an oven or a pot of water boiling or turned on a space heater." Ongoing dry conditions across Long Island have led to warnings of increased fire risks.
The owner of a New York City daycare center where a toddler died after ingesting fentanyl pleaded guilty to federal drug charges yesterday. Gray Mendez admitted to conspiracy to distribute narcotics resulting in death, more than a year after 22-month-old Nicholas Domenici's tragic death in September 2023. Her husband, Felix Herrera Garcia, was sentenced to 45 years earlier this month on related charges. Mendez confessed to assisting in the packaging and storage of fentanyl in her Bronx daycare, where investigators later found drugs hidden under a trapdoor in the children's play area. Mendez faces a mandatory 20-year sentence and will be sentenced in March.
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Report with Kira Osborne, but first, your Newsline Traffic Update with Matt Fisher. WRHU News Time is 5:47.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
All right, y'all, we're back for a second update of the broadcast. Outside, it's 69 degrees and cloudy, and we're expecting sundown around 5:52 p.m. Looking towards the weekend, expect sunny conditions with temperatures in the high 30s and 50s. Back on the road, there is a disabled vehicle on the Southern State Parkway eastbound between exit 38 and 39S, resulting in a right shoulder blockage. On the Sagtaco State Parkway northbound at exit S3 Pioneer Drive, there's another disabled vehicle resulting in a right shoulder blockage. As far as traffic goes, we're seeing major congestion on the Northern State Parkway, Long Island Expressway, and Southern State Parkway. Looking again towards the sky, there are still no destination-specific delays at both JFK International Airport and LaGuardia Airport. At both airports, general departure delays and arrival delays are as usual, with wait times being 15 minutes or less. That's all from me. With your Newsline traffic and weather update, this has been Matt Fisher.
Newsline. Entertainment.
Australian police have found more than 40,000 stolen coins featuring the children's TV star Bluey. The show follows Bluey, a puppy, and her family of dogs in Brisbane. Australian police assembled Strike Force Bandit to find the stolen coins, Bandit being the name of Bluey's father. The coins have a value of $1 Australian each and were stolen from a warehouse connected to the National Mint 3 months ago. In that time, the coins have been slowly released to the public by the thieves and have landed in the hands of legitimate collectors. 3 people have been charged in connection to the crime so far. Music artist Tyler, the Creator, released a new album earlier this week titled Chromacopia. It's been 14 tracks with features from Daniel Caesar, Sexy Red, Playboi Carti, and more. An exclusive listening party was hosted in Los Angeles to celebrate the release, and it's been received very well so far. Reality television star Joseph Maldonado Passage, known commonly as Tiger King, announced on X that he's engaged to one of his fellow inmates at a Florida state prison named Jorge Marquez. Tiger King is currently serving a 21-year sentence for allegedly plotting a murder-for-hire scheme to eliminate fellow big cat enthusiast Carol Baskin. Maldonado helps to overturn the ruling and get his fiancée, who's from Mexico, citizenship in the United States. Thanks for listening to your WRHU Entertainment Report. I'm Kira Osborne.
WRHU News Time is 5:50. Thank you to Matt Fisher and Kira Osborne for those reports. An Alabama man was sentenced to 1 year and 9 months in prison for threatening authorities over the jail mugshot of former President Donald Trump. Arthur Ray Hansen II sent threatening voicemails to the Fulton County Sheriff and District Attorney after Trump was put into jail on state charges in August 2023. Hansen also threatened District Attorney Fonnie Willis, saying that if Trump was indicted, quote, "Anytime you are alone, be looking over your shoulder." After those voicemails, the FBI contacted Hansen and told him to stop making threatening calls, and Hansen complied. A month later, Hansen called a New Jersey Department of Homeland Security tip line and said U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas should be hanged.
Juliana Perez Majales, an au pair in Fairfield, Virginia, was charged with manslaughter following the February 2023 murders of pediatric intensive care nurse Christine Banfield. Majales and the victim's husband, IRS agent Brendan Banfield, orchestrated and executed the double murder scheme and had attempted to frame another man in the stabbing.
A Colorado teenager is battling kidney failure following a series of meals that included a McDonald's Quarter Pounder. Camberlyn Bowler, a 15-year-old girl, was airlifted approximately 250 miles to a hospital near Denver, where she underwent dialysis for 10 days to save her kidneys. Camberlyn reports that she consumed the Quarter Pounder 3 times between September 27th and October 8th. Shortly after eating the burger, she began experiencing severe symptoms, including vomiting, stomach cramps, and diarrhea. Her mother, Brittany Randall, is understandably shocked by the situation and is deeply concerned about her daughter's health. In light of these events, Randall plans to sue McDonald's, alleging that the restaurant infected her daughter with E. coli bacteria. The family's case raises questions about food safety and the potential risks associated with fast food consumption. Further investigation into the matter is expected as the situation develops.
According to a county official, at least 475 damaged ballots were retrieved from a ballot box that was set on fire early on Monday in southwest Washington. According to Clark County Auditor Greg Kimsey, workers will begin to search through the damaged ballots today for voter contact information so that they will be able to contact the voters about requesting a new ballot. Kimsey says that officials say that the information will be able to be retrieved despite the damage. These damaged ballots are separate from the many that were completely destroyed.
Just before Election Day, the government has released its final data files on hiring and unemployment for this year. This information is expected to significantly influence voters' perceptions of the economy in the upcoming presidential election. The data includes what some are calling, quote, the most distorted monthly employment numbers in years, temporarily affected by the recent hurricane that hit Florida. Former President Donald Trump and his supporters have blamed the Biden and Harris administrations for the inflation spike over the past 2 years, despite recent signs of cooling inflation this year. Job growth has been more fluid, with fewer layoffs and low unemployment rates. Nevertheless, Trump continues to portray the country as failing and has promised to implement tariffs on all imported goods, claiming it would restore millions of manufacturing jobs.
In a significant ruling today from a Tokyo courtroom, the government declared that same-sex marriage is unconstitutional. The court characterized the ruling as groundless legal discrimination based on sexual orientation, stating it violates constitutional guarantees of equality, individual dignity, and gender equality. Judge Sono Taniguchi inserted in writing that the purpose of marriage is not only to produce offspring, but also to ensure stable legal status for partners, adding that there is no rational justification for excluding same-sex couples from marriage. This ruling has not yet been established as law, according to Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi, who noted that the government will continue to review pending court cases related to the issue.
In eastern Spain, over 72 people have been killed in a flash flood that swept through the region, washing away cars, turning streets into rivers, and destroying train tracks and highways. The disaster began on Tuesday and continued into Wednesday, affecting the regions of Malaga and Valencia. Emergency services, including police, have rescued many individuals, primarily using helicopters to lift people from the roofs of their homes and from boats. The mayor of Utelia, Ricardo Gabaldon, expressed his devastation to the national broadcaster RTVE, stating, "Yesterday was the worst day of my life," and reported that 6 residents of his town had died, with several others still unaccounted for.
Yesterday, 2 Israeli airstrikes hit the northern Gaza Strip, resulting in the deaths of approximately 88 people, according to health officials. Many of these individuals suffered life-threatening injuries that have been exacerbated by the Israeli forces' raids, which have destroyed several medical facilities. Israel maintains that its primary objective is to uproot Hamas militants, raising significant concerns for the remaining Palestinian population in northern Gaza. Tensions escalated further on Monday when Israel passed 2 laws restricting the distribution of food, water, and medicine, effectively banning these essential supplies from reaching Israeli soil.
In a September forum, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a dry response when asked if he preferred Donald Trump or Kamala Harris in the U.S. election, joking that Russia's, quote, favorite was President Biden, though he noted Biden had backed Harris. While Putin's response was non-committal, analysts suggest the Kremlin likely sees Trump as a more favorable candidate, given his familiarity and softer stance on Russia. A win for Harris could mean continued U.S. support for Ukraine, which has received nearly $60 billion in aid since Russia's 2022 invasion. Trump, who claims he could negotiate peace within 24 hours, has criticized sanctions on Russia and hinted he may withdraw some to promote peace. As for nuclear arms control, with the New START treaty expiring in 2026, Trump has previously moved away from past arms deals, whereas Harris aligns more closely with Biden's approach to nuclear agreements.
Coming up, your Newsline Sports Break with Connor Keogh. WRHU News Time is 5:56.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
The Islanders go to Columbus on the second half of a back-to-back. Last time out, the Islanders fell 3-1 against Anaheim at home. Star center Matt Barzal scored the only goal for New York, his second of the season. Columbus enters play 1 point above the Islanders in the Metropolitan Division standings. Chris King, Greg Picker will have all the action at 7 on 88.7 FM and the UBS Arena app. In soccer, the 4th-ranked Hofstra women's soccer plays 5th-ranked Delaware in the first round of the CAA Conference Tournament tomorrow. The Pride will lean on reigning CAA Rookie of the Week Emma Johnson and the rest of the defense to hold the Blue Hens, who won their head-to-head matchup in September. Hofstra and Delaware take the field in West Long Branch, New Jersey tomorrow at 4. On the Diamond, the Yankees and Dodgers play Game 5 in the Bronx. New York's bats came alive last night to put up double-digit runs for the first time this postseason. Anthony Volpe drove in 4 in a 3-for-3 effort with a home run and a double. Garrett Cole will pitch for the Bombers tonight, with Jack Flaherty going for the Dodgers. The Yanks still trail LA 3-1 in the series. First pitch is 8:08. To the hardwood now. The Knicks visit Miami to take on the Heat. New York enters the game 1-2 and winless on the road this season. Despite the sluggish start, the Knicks have scored at least 104 points in every game, and new addition Karl Anthony Towns has been electric for New York. The center averages 15 points and 10 rebounds a game. Tip-off from the 3:05 is 7:30. And staying on the hardwood in Memphis, the Nets-Grizzlies game is set for 8. Brooklyn enters 1-3 in the first 4 games under new head coach Yordi Fernandez. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Connor Keogh.
That will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU News team. Engineering our show this evening is the astounding Antonio Schoenhardt.
Thank you for tuning into Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time local, Long Island, New York, and global news, along with content from WRHU Talent Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6.
And tune back in from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday morning for our talk show, where we discuss Long Island on life, national news, and international issues from the minds and mouths of Hofstra students on the morning wake-up call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
For Newsline, I'm Cameron Bowden.
And I am Brooklyn Doughton.
Thank you for listening.
And have a splendid evening, Long Island.
Newsline is a presentation of Long Island's largest radio news team, comprised of nationally recognized student broadcasters, winners of numerous awards from the Associated Press, Society of Professional Journalists, Radio Television News Directors Association, Hearst Corporation, Long Island Press Club, and other prestigious organizations. Newsline is researched and produced by student journalists using the Hofstra News Hub, cutting-edge multimedia news gathering technology, located in Hofstra's School of Communication. To learn more about News Hub and the Hofstra School of Communication, log on to hofstra.edu.